Meeting to order. Mr. Placco, can you take roll?
Lori Kniske,
Here.
Denise Brewster,
Here.
Scott Bishel,
Here.
Linda Grassi,
Here.
Jennifer.
Here.
Next on the agenda was the Pledge of Allegiance. Since we just did the Pledge of Allegiance, I'm going to skip that. Next on the agenda is the oath of office.
Start with Brewster. I think Andrews is here to do that.
Where do you want us to stand?
Right here, can we do that?
Is this good? Yeah.
So we got
Okay.
this.
Right here.
Okay. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution, well, not repeat after me, I'm so sorry. I give
You can do
many
both
oaths.
ways.
Usually you have to repeat.
Yes, you do. Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio, and that you will faithfully and impartially discharge your duties as a member of the Board of Education of the Riverside Local School District, Lake County, Ohio, to the best of your ability, and in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereinafter to be enacted during your continuance in said office, and until your successor is elected and qualified, so help you God.
I do. So help me God.
Okay.
Thank you so
Here you
much.
are.
Thank you. Oh, appreciate it.
Expect big things out of you.
I know, like my grandson said, what have you got? Haven't gotten there yet.
Raise your right hand. All right. Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio, and that you will faithfully and impartially discharge your duties as a member of the Board of Education of the Riverside Local School District, Lake County, Ohio, to the best of your ability, and in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereafter to be enacted during your continuance in said office and until your successor is elected and qualified?
Thank you. Congratulations. Yep. Yep.
All right, that brings us to the election of officers. We'll start with nominations for president.
I nominate Lori for president.
I second it.
Are there any other nominations? All right, so we make a motion to approve the president for 2024. Mr. Placco?
Lori Kniske,
Aye.
Denise Brewster,
Aye.
Scott Bishel,
Aye.
Linda Grassi,
Aye.
Jennifer Hart.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. Nomination for vice president?
I nominate Belinda Grassi.
Any other nominations? All right, approval of I make a motion to approve, Belinda Grassi as vice president. Mr. Placco?
Denise Brewster,
Aye.
Scott Bishel,
Aye.
Linda Grassi,
Aye.
Jennifer Harden,
Aye.
Lori Kniske.
Aye, motion carried. All right, that brings us to the fun part of establishing meetings for 2024. Is everybody okay with Thursdays? I think that's been the day that we found works best for everybody. You all right? There was a request also that we talk about changing the start time from 7 to 6 p.m. Is anybody against that?
I have no problem with that.
I would, for me, it's okay for me, I would be more interested in the community, if that's okay. How does that go? I mean, do other boards do 6 o'clock?
Yes.
Most boards do, there are boards that do 6, between 5 and 7 are typically their start times, kind of, they range.
I mean, I have no problem with it myself.
We would, they make for long days for some of our administrators.
Oh, yeah, right, so shorten it up a
So if
little.
we
I'm fine.
We
with
can
that.
start at 6, especially with all the school presentations that we're having and all of that. It makes it a little bit nicer, kind of even for our families. And we do broadcast our meetings, we post them by the time we get to the comments part, it's usually 7 anyway.
Yeah, so the public.
Public comment would still be at
public-
7.
Yeah, public comment occurs later in the agenda, so that allows, even if you're not here for the first part, you still time to participate.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
fine with 6.
Anybody else?
Good for me.
Just student activities, games, things like that, at least you're not missing all.
Well, our high school activities typically start at 7 anyway,
7.
so we're bringing them in, they can maybe double up and kind of work through some of that stuff.
So Gary, you'll send out meeting invites, like
Yes.
100 of them.
Yeah, I'll send them all out, and I'll make sure that the website's updated, board docs is updated.
Are we gonna reserve the alternate Tuesdays for potential work session? Thursdays, sorry, I'm dating myself.
So,
That's my couple years.
Mr. So just for your, last year, we put just a placeholder, it wasn't really an official meeting, we put a placeholder, because sometimes it's hard to get everybody together.
Right.
We just put it out there to hold it,
Okay,
just
got
in
it.
case.
Okay.
I think it'd probably be smart with
I would
the work that
recommend
we
with
have
the
to do.
upcoming facilities plan and that sort of thing, and all of that work, I would foresee a number of work sessions.
Yeah.
kind of
So just the-
down road.
Every other, okay. So do we do the third week or the fourth week? I meant to go back and look at my calendar.
Fourth.
Typically the fourth, but then there's months
Okay,
where like
so-
spring break,
Sure.
and so it's best to kind of go through it, and, you know, we have, and then you fall into like November, Thanksgiving, and December, Christmas, so it's,
Yep.
we tend to.
So I tried to account for that, and I actually put dates we're not debating. I think the first one would be January 25th.
I'm in Columbus for work, that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday that week.
So what, any suggestions?
Can you do the 18th instead and do 1 week earlier?
I'll be out of town the 18th. I'll be out of town the next 2 weeks.
All right,
Is a Monday or a Friday? You said Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
I'm in Columbus Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for work.
I mean, is a Monday or Friday okay with anyone? Everyone?
I have
Friday
Monday.
nights, my son plays basketball, is that a basketball season?
Monday night's the winter meets the team thing.
That's the
Friday
25th.
night.
Well,
Okay, yeah, because the 18th I have a conflict, Scott's out of
How
town.
about Friday?
That's basketball night.
Friday
or
night is
someplace?
one
So-
basketball game.
Can we leave it for the 25th?
Yeah, I just won't be here.
Okay. February, I have the 22nd. Anything wrong with that date, the 22nd? All right, so we'll leave it the 22nd. March 28th,
Spring break.
that's spring break,
So
okay?
it'll be the 21st.
21st. Any concerns with the 21st? All right. That brings us to April 25th.
I will be in Orlando.
Alright. So can we do, anybody have any concerns with April 18th?
That's the Glasgow Treasure Conference.
Okay.
That Tuesday through Friday.
Right?
We do the 23rd.
My April's clear right now.
Yeah, with
So-
Tuesday the 23rd work?
I don't, yes. I took it out. That's, I mean, my daughter's with Worlds for, with her gym.
16.
So we had the 25th was the normal meeting. Jen, are you available any time that week?
No,
The week before?
the week before I can do the 18th.
Mr. Placco's gone.
Mr. Prosciutto can always fill in
Is there any big, nothing?
if, usually April's not a big
Okay.
financially month.
All right, so is
Days.
everybody okay with the 18th?
I'm okay with that.
Yes.
Okay, so let's do the 18th. May 23rd,
It's graduation. Just for the-
Graduation.
May
is
31st.
31st.
We sent out an invite for that too.
23rd, okay?
Yep.
All right. That brings us to June 27th. Any,
Always late in the month for June, sounds good.
all right. Any concerns with the 27th? All right, so that brings us to July 25th. Everyone good?
Good.
Mhm.
All right, August 22nd.
Yeah, we had a meeting earlier, like we did that.
Sure, so August 15th.
Would we be holding that for a work session anyway? Or would we?
2 weeks we do in between, so it'll be, we can adjust if we need to.
I think August 15th, because we have staff coming back on the 19th, correct? Yeah, so August 15th would be perfect.
Thank you.
Okay,
So we'll move it from the 22nd?
yep.
Yes, thank you.
Now, if there's any
Later.
personnel approvals.
Yeah.
All right, that brings us to September 26th. Any concerns?
Good.
All right. October 24th.
Good.
All right. November, I put the 21st to avoid, is that too
Don't we
late
should do the
still?
14th?
Is it earlier?
Thanksgiving's the 28th.
Oh, it's this,
Yeah,
right.
so it's late.
So we could do the
We
21st.
could do the 21st.
Okay.
Good.
All right. And then December 19th.
That's fine.
Good.
Woo-hoo.
At 6 p.m.
6 p.m.
PM all.
6 p.m.
Yep. Mr. Plasko will put the placeholders out there, not official meetings, but placeholders, just in case we need working sessions. Thank you.
I'll put it 2 weeks ahead of time. August might be one week ahead of time, so it's-
Yeah, perfect. All right, so I make a motion to approve the schedule of meetings for 2024.
I'll second.
Thank you. And Mr. Placco, can you call the roll?
Scott Fishel,
Aye.
Linda Grassi,
Aye.
Jennifer Harden,
Aye.
Lori Knessky,
Aye.
Denise Brewster.
Aye.
Motion carried. All right, that brings us to our standing authorizations for 2024. It begins with, get the right page. So make a motion to approve our standing authorizations for 2024. Maybe a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Note that we changed the meeting time to 6 p.m., so I'll amend the agenda on number.
Perfect.
Which one is it?
Number 3,
Or number 2.
number 2, the time.
Oh,
All right. Is there any discussion on the?
I did.
Yes. And then any discussion? All right, so Mr. Placco, can you call the roll?
Linda Grassi,
Aye.
Jennifer Harden,
Aye.
Lori Knessky,
Aye.
Denise Brewster,
Aye.
Scott Fishel.
Aye.
Motion carried. All right, that brings us to our standing committee appointments. I did a little bit of a, just to make sure we help us kind of kick off discussion. I had asked everybody to send me, when I say paper, I tear them apart.
Well, that's very, very good, right? Very formal, right?
But I asked everybody to kind of send what are your committees of choice so we could kind of kick off the discussion instead of playing through that. So that's what we have here at the board is just to kind of kick off our discussion. I think there's a couple of things that probably are important to think about is just making sure that we have some experience on the committee. So somebody who has history on the committees, I think if somebody has a background or a skill in an area too, I think that's important. Anything else that, as we begin our discussion, you guys want to bring kind of to the forefront that we should think about?
Just to clarify, as president.
I'm off, yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't know.
You can scratch
So
me
maybe
off.
we can explain what the situation is with you. As president, you meet with the superintendent and you serve on the
conduct the board
business
business,
advisory
yeah.
board business.
Yeah, so the board president typically doesn't serve on the.
Any committee.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah, you can scratch me off, I just put everybody out there. So we can start with finance and audit personnel. I know we have, Ms. Harden's interested in that as a first choice, Ms. Grassi's interested in it as a second choice. I think that, and then Ms. Brewster, you had it as kind of your third choice, so.
Mhm.
I think the other thing we need to think about too is making sure that there's different perspectives on our committee, so we really kind of collaborate and throw different ideas out there. So I don't know, Ms. Brewster or Mr. Fish, will either one of you would be willing to serve on that committee,
And which one?
on the finance?
The finance?
I know you said you have an interest.
It was my third choice.
Okay.
So, Mrs. Grassi obviously has a wealth of experience being an accountant and having that background. And I'm not familiar with everybody else's background on that, but I assume that Jen, you've been.
I haven't been on that one in
You have
years.
not
It was
been
my
on that
fir-
one
I want to say it was
before.
my first year on the board. It's a really good one to do your first year on the board because there's so much to learn about the finance of the district, so I've got no problem giving it up.
And
I actually forgot finance was
Yeah, and
personnel,
I
it's not personnel.
honestly don't have a problem giving it up, because if
She's gonna book Harry no matter what.
I didn't look too excited there.
really, but at the end of the day, I would prefer to stay on buildings and grounds, and if we're gonna have some conflict or whatever on the other committees, that finance would be the one that I would be okay moving off of, because I'm comfortable with that area anyway. I just feel like
So you would still be, if that was your second choice, that would still give you experience of having been there before.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that if there is some conflict on some of the other committees that people want to be on, then I can move off of that one easily.
I think we have to think Ms. Grassi too has been one of the only other board members that have served on the Buildings and Grounds Committee, and I think it's important, again, she has the history of buildings and grounds. I think she needs to, in my opinion, I believe she needs to be on that committee still,
Fully agree with that.
as one of the members on that committee.
And the only other question I've had as far as building and grounds, you said we're gonna have work sessions to talk about it as a board. I guess I'd need to understand at what
Sure,
capacity the
perfect.
whole board is working versus two people.
I think that's great, thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
The committee really is responsible for meeting with the administration, kind of working through ideas, issues, a lot of open discussion, making sure we know what's going on. And sometimes you can make decisions, but most of the time it's, you're bringing things back to the board, reporting back out on it. So I don't know, Chris, Mr. Tino, you had,
So yeah, we had, with the facilities plan, and typically in the past when we've done a larger facilities plan, it's kind of been its own separate entity. Buildings and grounds are more the day-to-day upkeep and that sort of thing. And I think for an upcoming facilities plan, that yes, we work in congruency with the Buildings and Grounds Committee, but I do think it's such a big project and would require more than a monthly meeting, that it does need to be kind of its own standalone, with also the importance to be, the board committee, yes, they're public, but having that public input, it's a public meeting, but it's still a board meeting. Having public input and having public on a committee like that to kind of gain their input is really critical any type of facilities plan. So it would look to do a facilities plan committee would look a little bit different than the standing buildings and grounds committee. And I think we can do that through an ad hoc or even through a superintendent's committee where we have some board members involved as a part of that as well.
So
To
there'll
kind
be
of get
plenty
that
of
plan together.
yeah, there'll be plenty of opportunity for the entire board to work on
Okay.
buildings and grounds. The committee is really there to kind of get that, I liked how you said it, the day-to-day done.
Yeah, typically, we've gotten through a lot of the projects we've talked about, like the turf and things like that, of that nature, and things that are going on in the facilities probably that need to be dealt with, like in a more immediate nature. Right. And then how that dovetails itself into the facility plan.
Right.
So-
Summer cleaning.
And all of that would have to be in concurrency with, because obviously there's the legacy buildings, but then there's any type of other visioning plan, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that would require a work session of the board as well. Anytime we're looking for any type of large purchase, I mean, we would bring it back and explain it and kind of continue to be about it. But it is about getting the work done,
Okay.
and kind of the reasons why.
And honestly, I like the buildings and grounds and finance as a grouping, at least from my own perspective, because in finance, we talk about things that we've talked about in facility to determine how we pay for it. So it kind of, it melds itself, but again, I'm fine with moving off of finance.
I think the other one that comes up with this, with the person on the finance and audit, would be the review of the agendas, personnel who are coming on and off, kind of those type of reasons as well. It is a part of it too, to kind of look at what's coming up with the next future board meetings.
Okay. So, depending on who is actually leading buildings and grounds and who is the support person, the number two, since I'm new, you know, like, how does that work? Because obviously, you know, buildings and grounds, it's very involved, especially with the Bialowski study. And a lot of decisions are gonna be made, and, you know, my only concern is what kind of background there is as far as an understanding of buildings and grounds.
Yeah, there's no decisions that are gonna
decisions.
be made in the committee meeting. It's gonna
No
be like,
decisions.
here are the reports, we've read them, we've looked at them, we've discussed them, we've determined what they say, how they say it, right? And then how do we want to approach, like, introducing all of that data to the board? What's our
Well, yeah,
best
committees
approach?
just bring recommendations. They don't make any decisions. They just bring a recommendation to the rest of the board to make a decision as a group.
Now, I want to just be careful because they might learn in the committee that, hey, we've decided to replace light bulbs somewhere, right? Like, as that information comes back. So that, it's not really a decision to be made, it's work that's being done also, so
Right.
it's some of those kind of updates too.
Okay.
And the chairperson of the committee basically reports to the board during
Right.
the committee updates. So
Right.
it is different between the chair and the other
Right.
person.
There's a lot of work in buildings and grounds with, you know, Mr. Arlesic, and he will come and kind of give the day-to-day. Like, he'll have an update on the pond, kind of where, what his standing is in the ponding on the front, and, you know, kind of where are, you know, his daily battles with that, or lighting in the stadium and kind of the needs and replacements.
Okay.
And updates on meetings with how their team is working with the turf, to kind of keep the turf up to date, and making the annual planning for those expenses. That sort of project status updates as well.
I think the best way, at least from my perspective, is to describe the committees, is that's where the administrative team has the opportunity to have deep conversation with the board about what we're doing, what the district is doing, and what they're currently working on, so that we can, if there are concerns that the board has or whatever, then we can start to discuss those as well, and give them some guidance or whatever on what it is that the board is looking for, but then it's their job to go back and determine how they're going to approach that, and then report back out to the board, which then we report back out to the board. Usually in those kinds of cases, the administrative team is then reporting it out to the board anyway.
Right.
Right, like teachers.
Well, one thing, like, for example, I put curriculum first and then buildings and grounds, but, you know, I have a working knowledge of you know, buildings and grounds, just having been in education and been through building projects, but also personally being, contracting 2 homes in addition. But I don't pretend to have the kind of background knowledge as somebody who spent their whole life. I know Scott has spent a lot of time in business and has construction knowledge, and this is a whole nother arena other than education. So I guess I'm just concerned that I want to make sure that we have somebody who has a working knowledge of building.
And you've come to I know you've come to some of those meetings, so
Yeah.
you've seen what.
Yeah, when Tom was leading and you were, you know, the support person. So for consistency, I can see, you know, the continuation of somebody who's been there and knows what we've been doing, but I don't want to lose the expertise of somebody who has a wealth of knowledge in buildings and grounds.
My-
So, as the overarching on the committees, I think it's almost self-evident. When we have someone who has decades of being a CPA and finance experience, and that obviously begs a finance chair. When we have someone who has 42 years of educational experience with 17 years of awards from the state of Ohio for educational performance, is that what it is, 17
Yeah.
awards? Then it's quite obvious that's a curriculum chair. And I've got 47 years in the construction industry, with 45 of those years being in business. This will be the 46th year. And I watched the last Buildings and Grounds meeting, and it concerned me a little bit about some of the information that was put forth. I think it would be vitally important that someone like myself chair that committee, for the very simple reason of my knowledge and experience and expertise, and my contacts, people that I know. And I'll get back to what concerned me. What was presented in the last Buildings and Grounds for the roof above the chemistry room that's been leaking for 3 years. The way it was presented would have cost us more than twice as much as the way that I know how to go ahead and solve that problem with a 20-year warranty from a multinational company that supplies building material products. So anyway, I think it's important to have someone like me chair that committee, because when Bialowski puts out $98 million that we need to spend, I know how to cut that to 50 right now.
So I just want to make sure as chair, it doesn't bring any kind of,
Extra duties.
right, so
So
there's a
let me
chair.
finish, okay? So the knowledge and the expertise and the experience is vitally important if we're going to start in the right place and continue on through the discussion. And of course, the discussion involves all parties, including the community, and then to completion. Okay, so here's an example. I've been pushing to have the correct owner's agent hired by this district, excuse me, and it's not happened. So right now, we have a construction project going on right now at the vestibule, right, with Lakeland Construction, and they've already made a mistake. That mistake would not have happened if we had an owner's agent in place. Okay, they've already made a mistake. We already had a problem. I don't know if anyone here on the board's aware of that. Ms. Grassi, you're on Buildings and Grounds. Are you aware of that?
I'm not clear on what you're saying.
Okay, so it's important to be connected, all right? So what I'm saying here is obvious who at the table has experience and should be chairing committees. And it's also very important that there's other input, right? You have diversity of thought and opinion, and you have everyone's ideas and thoughts coming to the table, because when Bialowski says we need to spend $98 million, that's a big deal. Okay, we don't have $98 million to spend. Okay, and how do we cut that? Well, when they made their presentation, I asked them, if your life depended on it, how would you go about cutting that to 70%? Well, I gave an idea. You can have some synergy in putting some projects together instead of a la carte all the way through. But they didn't have any more information than that. I have that information. So what I'm saying is, we have Ms. Brewster, who obviously is the curriculum chair. I don't think there's any thought about that. And I don't know if maybe Belinda doesn't want to have the finance chair with all the experience. You know, I don't know, but it begs that, and for myself, it begs the Buildings and Grounds. So I just wanted to put that on the table. I think if we're going to do the best for the taxpayers of this school district, I think we need to have the expertise in the correct place.
And I don't disagree. Again, I think it's going to be very important, I'd asked in a prior meeting, that we define what the roles and responsibility of our committees are. So I think that's going to be very important for us to bring back to the next meeting and make sure that we're defining that, because it's also important that the members show up and be present. Even if they're not the chair, they have to show up and be present for whatever committee they're on, to make sure we have that diversity of discussion too. So,
Because that hasn't been the case.
And-
And I just want to make sure that, you know, like, we are, as committees, not, that we're being mindful of the fact that the rest of the board has a say in
Mhm.
matters that are so large and whatever, and the committee's not making decisions on what project we're going to do first or whatever. That's going to be board decision, first and foremost, but.
Recommendations come out from the committee.
Recommendations.
Sure, and the recommendations carry a lot of weight because the board typically just votes on them. And there's not a whole lot of discussion. I've been on for 2 years. There's not a whole lot of discussion typically. There's usually, okay, this is what's been recommended, okay, we're voting on it. And so there's a lot involved in the being involved. Last week I spent 2 hours with Rich Arlesic. He's our maintenance supervisor up on the roofs here on the campus. And again, looking at that chemistry room, roof leak and other roofs here and discussing what can be done, how it would be done, how would we save money doing it, and then we went into electrical and other things too. So what I'm saying is, someone who has the knowledge, the know-how, the ability to go ahead and step in and start that ball in the right place, and then having an owner's agent that can pull everything together so we can chronologically move forward. And I know there's been pushback. We started that process
So
of the owner's agent.
I want to save this conversation for a meeting. I just want to get through the organizational. So I
Well,
think
we
this
have
is a
to
great time.
have the people in the right places
I don't
in
disagree.
order to have that conversation.
We don't disagree. So, again, I think keeping Mrs. Grassi on, Mr. Fischel, I know that was your number one choice. I did ask you to give me some
What was my
other-
number 2 choice?
Building the ground. So, I would suggest let's put Mr. Fischel and Mrs. Grassi on Buildings and Grounds.
I would agree. I think the
I agree.
diversity of opinion, and the fact that, I mean, you know, you have to know what questions to ask and really kind of have an idea of what the answer is if we're going to be spending taxpayer dollars.
And you also have to understand the financing. I am
Yes,
going to
absolutely.
continue to reiterate, though, that participation in committee meetings is crucial.
Right.
You know, when you don't show up for 50% of the meetings and then 50% of the time that you do show up, you leave early, it doesn't lend itself to good committee discussion. I have philosophical issue with that, so I want to make sure that people understand that if we set meetings, we need to participate and we actually need to do it, not just because you're interested or whatever, but because you are now on a committee.
I would say Ms. Brewster as chair for the curriculum and programming.
Thank you.
Wow, an educator.
Smart, makes sense.
Ms. Harden?
Yes,
I know that wasn't one on your top of your list. Are you interested in curriculum and programming?
that's fine.
We'll put her as the member for curriculum and programming.
Okay,
Ms.
who's the
Harding?
member?
Ms. Harden.
Harding.
Brings us to finance, audit, personnel. Ms. Grassi.
I feel strongly about the personnel part of that, which is why I want to be on that committee.
So again, I think it's important that we have some diversity of thought.
I understand that, but
So-
everyone else is getting to,
Sure.
like, I feel strongly about
Okay.
that for myself.
Are you, Ms. Grassi, good? I think you're good. Mr. Platt will run for his money anyways, no matter what, so.
At one point, we did have committees lined up where the chair and the vice chair were, two of the committees were flip-flops, so you can also double up meetings. There was also that. But I know that, you know, they wouldn't have that experience if we switched.
Yeah.
Just a thought. Not that
Yes.
much.
Brewster, I think finance and audit is a really good one your first year to learn the wonderful world of school finance.
Well, and, yeah,
Are you
I'm
with that?
I'm familiar with it, and, yeah, the personnel aspect of it too would be.
I'm
A good
totally
one.
fine with it.
So I would, so Jen would be the chair, and I would be the,
Member?
Oh,
member.
Chuck will be so pleased.
all right.
That brings us to Ms. Grassi being chair of the policy committee,
I'm so fine with that.
and Mr. Fischel will be the member. All right, so just to go over real quick, we have finance, audit, personnel chairperson, Ms. Harden, member, Ms. Brewster, policy chairperson, Ms. Grassi, member is Mr. Fischel, curriculum and programming chairperson, Ms. Brewster, member is Ms. Harden, buildings and grounds chairperson is Mr. Fischel, and member is Ms. Grassi. Did I get everything? Yeah. All right. I'll make a motion to approve the standing committee appointments for 2024. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fischel. And I think we had discussion, so can you call the roll, please?
Linda Grassi,
Aye.
Jennifer Hudson,
I'm,
Lori Knessky,
Aye.
Denise Brewster,
Aye.
Scott Fishel.
Aye.
Motion carried. That brings us to the liaisons for the board. We have Alumni Association Liaison, Booster Organization Liaison, Legislative Liaison, Strategic Plan Committee Liaison, and Superintendent's Business Advisory Liaison. The president usually sits as the Business Advisory Liaison, so I will put my name in there. Does anybody have any strong preferences? We didn't discuss this beforehand on what committee or what liaison role you would like to take part in.
I would like to take on legislative.
Legislative?
I know I flip-flop with that one periodically. There's just a lot that goes on there, and I do a lot of reading, so.
I'd like to stay with boosters.
Any,
I'm fine with either one that's left,
Did we say? we were
alumni
gonna
or
do
strategic plan.
yeah, but we never really
Yeah.
committed to it. We talked about changing the strategic plan committee liaison role. One of the ideas that came up with was like a student parent liaison. I know Dr. Rotino has some ideas possibly. So if we do that change, then that person on that, who's the serving as liaison, could kind of work with Dr. Rotino and see how do we kind of bring that to light. I don't know if we need to do a formal change. Mr. Placco, would you have any
I think whenever we do that, we can just probably approve something.
Kind of
We
change
can just
it?
change Yeah.
Yeah, this is just a committee, right?
Well, liaisons.
Liaison, right,
Yeah.
so, right.
So we can put somebody in as strategic plan and then talk about how do we want
How do we
to, what
evolve
that
it?
look like.
I'm fine with either one.
Do you want to stay with alumni, or do you want to?
Well, I've had some history with the alumni, and the golf outing is growing, so maybe I should stay there.
We finally got credit card payments set up.
Oh, it's set up now?
I've been working with them, so.
Yeah, well, good, because that's taken a while, right?
So we'll put
So, and that'll really help.
Yeah.
I mean,
So we'll put Mr. Fischel as alumni, Ms. Harden as booster, legislative as Ms. Grassi, strategic plan, which will morph here, we'll see what it goes into.
Right.
As Ms.
Okay.
Brewster.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, so make a motion to approve the standing board liaisons for 2024. Can I get a
I'll
second?
second.
Thank you, Ms. Grassi. And Mr. Placco, can you call roll?
Jennifer Harden,
Aye.
Lori Kniske,
Aye.
Denise Brewster,
Aye.
Scott Fishel,
aye.
Linda Green.
Aye.
Motion carried. All right, so that brings us to our tax budget for fiscal year 2025. I'll make a motion to approve the tax budget for fiscal year 2025. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Ms. Grassi? Any discussion? All right, Mr. Placco, can you call the roll?
Lori Kniske,
Aye.
Denise Brewster.
Aye.
Scott Fishel.
Aye.
Linda Grassi,
Aye.
Jennifer Harden.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next, meeting announcements. Our regular January business meeting will be held on January 25th at 6 PM. So change that. All right, and
Are we scheduling a work session? I think Dr. Bettino wanted.
We had talked about it, I know Mr. Fischel's out of town, and it seems like there's some, do we want to do maybe, we can do a work session a little bit before? On that 25th? Or I
That
know Ms. Harden's not going to be
Monday,
there as well.
Tuesday, Wednesday of that week.
I think Ms. Harden's out of town
I
as
am.
well, and I think that rich conversation with the entire board needs to.
we need to have all
be there.
5 board members there.
Um,
Can we send out a,
I can send
a
out a
doodle
doodle poll
poll?
for the
Yeah.
week after. I'll do both morning and evening
Yeah.
times to kind of look at
Perfect.
what we can do.
For the week of 29.
The week of the 29th, will that work?
I would say as soon as possible, we want to try to get it on so we can start having those
Okay.
discussions.
I leave for California on the first.
We can try. I'll put as many times
Do you
that
know
are
what I
available.
mean? Like,
Yeah,
But we need all 5 board members there, so I think it's important that,
yeah.
We did 27.
and the week, like, next week is out for people?
Mr. Fisher's up top.
Or when
What
do
about
we
the
do-
29th or 30th or 31st? Still be in January.
yeah, I'm just going to ask for time's sake, can we send a doodle poll out? I think
I
it'll
can
be
do that.
easier for us,
That's
is that
fine.
okay?
That's fine.
Because everybody, I
Yeah,
think
every
will
day
find
will
out we
be-
have a lot of
I
conflicts.
will put
Twice
that,
on Sunday.
All right.
Can we also make some effort to schedule our committee meetings? Because for me, for work purposes, I really need to get those on my calendar, so I want to make sure that whatever I'm sitting, and I know the policy committee, we can't, because it just depends on when Neola gets the stuff.
So good to have you back.
I'm sure you're
Denise, I don't know if
Chucky
anyone
Mister.
told you, but the chairperson of the committee usually brings donuts or bagels.
Oh.
So in case they forget to tell you that, that's what you have to do.
Your
You
first
have no
year's
idea. I'm a goodies person. I always
I
have.
love it so.
Yeah, the policy was,
Yeah, policy, like, we'll have to set as we
But
get
I
to
think
things.
to keep in
like-
mind for policy, like, we have some board handbook things that need updated that are rolling over, so I don't know if there's an opportunity to like, figure out. Because I think when you guys get into the policy discussions that Neola listens over, they kind of take the back seat, so just to make sure we're also keeping in mind of those things.
That's fine.
Now, how many policy meetings did we have last year?
Like
2 or 3?
yeah,
Usually
Neola
sends
Neola
out
updates
updates.
usually triannually. I think have they sent 3?
there should be another update here in January.
For an actual committee policy meeting?
Yeah, so
Well-
then we usually
Usually,
try to,
yeah, it comes out like January, an update will come up, goes to the administration first, usually schedule something for February,
there-
March.
Yeah.
And April.
So they're scheduled for when Neola sends out the, I don't want to say required, but changes that need to be made due to revised code changes, things like that.
Yeah.
So those are scheduled they're scheduled out?
They're usually scheduled between the first read and the second read, am I not mistaken? We get them as a first read for the board, and then we schedule a policy meeting, and I know,
To
at
discuss
least for
them.
myself, I read them like thoroughly, and then, 'cause I've been on that committee before, they love me, right?
Or is it prior to the first, it's prior to the first reading.
Right, so
Yeah.
what we
Is
try
it
to-
prior to
Yeah,
the
prior
first
So
read?
what we try to do is we'll get the policies, we will then meet with Neola, we will prep them. They go to the committee first. Committee has a discussion. Once that committee has looked through them, we then send it out to the board as a whole. And then you'll see it as a first reading. At that first reading, then of course, the following meeting would be the adoption, if there aren't any questions.
Right, well, I guess where I'm going to is, if we want to review our policies and go through all of our policies, we probably need to have regular policy committee meetings.
Well, and again, I've always been of the mindset that that's the time to do it, is read the policies that are coming up for renewal and the things that are being placed on the agenda. That's the best time to read those, like.
You'll read a lot of them.
Like, you'll read a lot. It's a lot of reading.
Well, what I'm saying, if we're looking at 3 a year, the other months, we can review our policies in the district
Yep.
and go over them, because I'm not so sure as a board we've done that. Maybe we would go through and maybe see if there's any conflicting information in there or anything we want to change or add. We might want to do that, just as a matter of course. Now that I'm on that committee, I would want to have more regular meetings.
That's fine, I just want to make sure that we schedule them. I'm just asking for a time
Yeah.
to schedule meetings, just because I need to schedule my work life,
Right.
so.
Do you guys want to take that offline to
Yes,
schedule
please.
those? Okay, thank you.
And then Gary can send out more meeting notices, so just.
And Belinda, do you want to communicate then on that to set times, dates?
Yeah, we can sit down after this meeting.
All right,
Hash out
we
some
will
times.
kind of bring everything to a close. So the
Okay.
committee meeting times can be settled outside, offline, and get those scheduled. All right, so that brings us, again, the next business meeting is January, I already forgot, 25th at 6 PM. It's not on the calendar, so that brings us to a motion to adjourn at 8:57 AM. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fischel, and call the roll, please.
Lori Knessky,
Aye.
Denise Brewster,
Aye.
Scott Fishel,
Aye.
Belinda Grassi,
Aye.
Jennifer Hart.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.